Through the Eyes of Another Pony, Unrevised Equestria Daily Version, by CardsLafter, Chapter 6, Chapter Heart with a Vengeance. Firewall, Luna asked me as we walked out the... You know what? I'm not going to write that ridiculously long name out. Fine, the ruins of the castle of the Royal Pony Sisters. I'm a little worried. You're gonna stick with that one, huh? I confirmed my name before looking at her, arching an eyebrow. What's up? I'm just wondering, she murmured as we approached that damnable bridge. Things aren't going to be the same for me, obviously. But what about Equestria? I shook my head and sat back before shrugging. Get out of my head, girl. I glanced at her, my mood becoming a tad overcast as she realized she wasn't the only one following that line of thought. For those that aren't keeping up, let me put things into perspective. Luna had acquired the knowledge of a civilization, not just a mind, not just a genius, not just a university, not just a multi-level library, but rather the culmination of modern East's ideas, culture, laws, and so much more. And she not only lived through it, but she was functioning. Her mind was a little frayed at the edges, to be sure, but she was still thinking quite clearly. All in all, it came down to just what she did and didn't have access to, how she accessed it, and how all that affected her. There was no questioning she was going to go through some serious changes whether or not she liked it. The big question was how that was going to affect Equestria. Let's worry about it later, all right? I countered her, pulling out a cigarette and walking onto the bridge. How about you? How are you holding up, Luna?
Princess Luna,
I heard that damnable jack pony shout as he landed at the edge of the bridge.
Learn a sense of propriety and respect, human.
Captain Stormwing! Luna narrowed her eyes a bit. If you're here, then so is... Celestia's awesome sky carriage of awesomeness swept in down beside him, whilst carrying the Sun Princess herself. Not sure how she got her hoofs on it, since I had left it at the edge of the forest. Also, to clear the air, this wasn't that stupid air chariot pulled by the air-schlepping Pegasus Brigade. Just imagine a sleek, wide-open front carriage that you lean back into. Blah, descriptions. Anyway, she stepped from the chariot before rushing to us as we disembarked from the bridge. Luna! She was barely restraining herself from happy tears. You are all right. Yeah, I didn't have to lift a hoof either, I announced, chuckling. She chased the nightmare off all on her own. Luna kicked my flank with the back hoof. Fire abuse. Don't listen to Firewall. He's trying to be modest and stupid. If he hadn't talked some sense into me at the trick to the nightmare, I might have done something foolish again. Apparently, I'm just never going to get what I want. Firewall? Celestia blinked as I rubbed the offending spot. That's your name? You got around to that, did you? No, Luna did, I clarified, giving Luna a smirk as I did so. She didn't even ask my permission.
Princess
Stormwing started to say before he was interrupted. Shut up! Luna and I stereoed at him. Celestia eyed the two of us before looking at Luna and nodding. We must talk. Let's go to Canterlot. No, Firewall. Twilight Sparkle has requested your presence in Ponyville. I'll have Stormwing escort you out of the forest. I sighed miserably, just as Stormwing inhaled deeply, as though to prepare himself for a rather arduous task. I mean, we were still semi-cool with each other, but that didn't mean that we looked forward to spending time in the same world as one another. Really, Celestia, that's not necessary, I said, as I decided that a cigarette in my mouth was going to be needed to be lit very soon. I can find my way on my own. Very well, she said with a nod. Then in that case we will be on our way. No! Luna interrupted. Twilight can come to Canterlot with her findings. All eyes turned to Luna. I mean, sure, there was nothing wrong with Twilight going to Canterlot. It was more the fact that Luna was pretty much vetoing Celestia. I mean, it was so bluntly stated that she could have simply yelled, "Objection!" and still pretty much got the same response. Why do you say that? Celestia asked. Luna? I tilted my head, forgetting entirely about the cigarette in my mouth. Just, I'd feel safer weren't far away. I'm not sure what I'm dealing with yet, Luna pleaded almost timidly. Please, Tia, let him come with us. Celestia stared at Luna for several seconds, not speaking. Luna stared back, her eyes somewhat imploring. It was like there was this huge conversation going on that I wasn't part of. And that was somewhat vexing, if I were to be perfectly honest about my feelings on the matter, seeing as how I was the subject matter. I will not order him, Celestia said, stepping back onto the carriage with a soft smile in my direction. He is free to make his own choice. If you would like him to come with us, you should ask him. Luna looked at me as I lit the cigarette. I saw it coming, though. I looked away, avoiding the pouting whine that she was starting to rev up. Yes, Luna, I'll go. Don't you dare use those big, sad eyes of yours. Really? I looked back at her, and instead of using big, sad eyes, she used big, happy ones. Just as bad in a different way. It was like staring into the happy abyss or something to that effect. Big, happy pools of duh that struck the extra happy place deep within the cockles of your heart. Maybe below the cockles. I just said I would. I looked back at her with a wink. So whatever, Twilight can come to us, right? Storm, you wanna deliver that message? No doubt it sounds better than having to escort my charming plot around. Stormwing chuckled.
I don't take orders from you, but I admit, it sounds much better than having to breathe that foul air you give off.
See, we are getting along so well, I said with Fox's cry of happiness before cantering over to him. Come here, I think we need to bring it in for some bromance. Stormwing gave a flap of his wings and lifted off with a roll of his eyes.
Not going to happen, whatever that is.
Luna giggled a bit as Celestia gave an interrupting cough. It's settled then. Captain Stormwing, I would indeed appreciate your willingness on this matter.
Your word is all I need, Princess,
he replied before zipping off in a bolt of lightning. I chuckled as I took a drag. He's pretty dedicated to you, ain't he, Celestia? He certainly earned his long life. No other pony before him has been as invaluable nor as steadfast, except perhaps his father. Still, I am lucky to count him amongst my ponies. She agreed with a smirk before hopping back onto the carriage, her eyes staring pensively at the Pegasus fading in the distance. I merely wish— Never mind, let us depart. With that we boarded the sky carriage and took off into the wild blue yonder. I let my cigarette hang off the side to avoid getting it on the girls. It didn't even occur to me this time that I was somehow holding that cigarette with a hoof. Must have been that whole magic hoof thing Twilight was talking about. I took a good hour to get back to Canterlot. I really have no clue how this place works, because it didn't even take us an hour to get there on foot with Fluttershy. Oh well, I've just stopped trying by this point, okay? I hopped off the sky carriage and pulled out another cigarette, just to have it taken away from me by Luna's unicorn magic. You need to stop smoking so much, she explained with an accusing glare. I stuck my tongue out at her and pulled out another one, pack still full, only to have it taken as well. Luna, I don't make threats, I warned as I pulled yet a third cigarette, not as amused. Not that I would have actually done anything, but hey, I can bluff, right? Luna, leave him be. It's his choice to do as he likes. Celestia pointed out as she dismissed the carriage. "Give those back to him." "Nope." She shook her head. "These are harmful, and he needs to quit." "Ha ha ha. No. I've still never hit a pony other than Blueblood, but really, I don't think he counts as a pony. Maybe more of a horse's ass? Yeah, that sounds right. Also, Stormwing doesn't count because I never landed a single hit on his evasive plot. So screw Captain Stormwing. The only girls I've hit were sisters that were bigger than me, so lashing out at Luna would be a big chance in my life. Change that I didn't want, to be honest. I mean, it was nothing but a huge bluff, but I still gave her a dangerous glare as I lit the third Marlboro. "Please don't," she implored, turning on those awful eyes of sorrow and heart-wrenching pain. What was it about ponies that made them so expressive? Haven't they ever heard of a poker face? But do you realize just how much of an edgy monster I would become without these? It was like staring at a Mack truck bearing down on you. Only the damage would be psychological, and worse. I don't think you would ever hurt me," she said coyly, sticking her tongue out at me. That's when I got the first big red flag, and I knew what it meant. For a moment time froze, and I raced through the avenues, possibilities and outcomes. The answer was no. For those of you not picking up on the subtext, don't worry. It'll become much more apparent in the future, I've no doubt. "Nope," I confirmed with a shake of my head and looked away, taking a drag. But I'm also not going to take the risk of losing my cool. You know what a temperamental human can do, right? We're avoiding that. You'll just have to learn to love and tolerate. Anyway, I'll be in the garden. I need to get some time to clear my head. Besides, you two need to talk, right? Right? Peace. I left them both there without another word. I could feel their eyes on me, to be sure. Didn't know how they were looking at me, whether with suspicion, sadness, or irritation. I just knew they were. It didn't take me but a few moments to make it to the garden, where a nearby spider monkey screeched at me for smoking around his home. I ignored the primate, sighing to my relief as I thought about the indigo alicorn and what she was thinking. Being a smart fellow, though you may have doubts about that by now, I'm actually quite observant when it comes to studying the actions of another. I'm no psychologist. I considered going into the field, actually. But I know a flirt when I saw one. The general consensus of my gut feelings consisted of not cool, which I agreed with. I didn't get to think on the matter for long, however. My thoughts were suddenly overcome with an intrusion. A chaotic, painful, malevolent intrusion. I stumbled up against the nearest tree before falling against the very bench I had slept on the night before and using it to brace myself up. It was like having the worst hangover while still being extremely drunk. At first, I thought I was simply under attack and fought back at it, knowing its source to be external. Then I remembered the spell I had used to force the nightmare out and tried it here. It didn't work entirely, but I was definitely much better off, the majority of the pain and imbalance having subsided. "You're not from here, are you?" It's official. I can now safely say to everyone that I'm now fucking nuts. I wasn't absolutely certain when I arrived in Ponyville. I wasn't entirely sure when I figured out how to pull stuff out of a random dimensional pocket, but now I am hearing voices. I think I can take it to the bank that I am completely insane. It didn't take as long as I thought it would, oddly enough. I just hated the part where it had to hurt so very, very much. I mean, I can already say that I'm a lot tougher having been in Equestria for all of 2 days and a half. I can tell you're different. It's been ages since I've felt a presence like yours. Might as well play along, right? I mean, I've lost it anyway, right? I thought back at it rather irritably. wondering why my insanity had to involve so much agony and effort. Great, I hope it's a thrill. Now I'd appreciate it if you knocked it off, whatever it is you're doing. The equestrians can't even tell when I try to speak to them. They cannot hear me, lucky them. But you can. Please forgive my overeager reaction. I am thrilled to discover you're here. Someone to speak to. It's just been so long. More than years, maybe more than centuries. Well, I wouldn't want to speak to some disembodied voice that caused me great amounts of pain either. Still, I remained cordial. I see. So, what, you want to play 20 questions or something? Maybe not entirely cordial. What? Look out, every pony, we've got a real breadwinner here. What do you want is what I'm saying. I just wanted to talk. Great. Managing the residual pain was doable, but that didn't mean that I was enjoying it. Well, we're definitely doing that now, aren't we? You're somewhat hostile. No, ya think? I wanted to shout at him, her, it, restraining myself out of politeness only. Yeah, that's right. Even in agony, I'm a sweetheart. Remember when I said Zen Master with cigarettes on hand? That wasn't a joke, unless you laughed. Your little chat is literally causing me agony. Yeah, I'm somewhat put off by that. Here, let me bludgeon your face as we socialize. That should even things up a bit. It'll be a great subject matter, too. Where are you? I'll be right over. Suddenly, the remaining pain and dizziness was gone like the flip of a switch. I'm not sure why he, she, it didn't do that much sooner, but I was certainly glad he, she, it found the time to get around to doing so. I'm sorry, is that better? Worlds better, actually. So who am I speaking to? I can't remember my original name. Now we have just ventured into predictably cryptic and annoyingly confusing. Next thing you know, it'll be asking me to seek it out with 3 magical items that come with their very own boss monsters. What? Find me. We must speak in privacy. Oh, bug me. Because my brain's not private at all? Our words are hidden, but my presence is not. Find me. Well, unless you're in the bathroom or something, I doubt I'm going to just stumble across you. Where do I find you? I swear, if you give me a cryptic video game answer or tell me to hunt down some stupid artifacts, I'm going to go put on caramel dancing and throw your ass out. Now, this may strike you as silly, but I had just realized something about me and the bathroom, and just in case this is like one of those things, I'm not going to point it directly out. You know, don't pick at it, because you might ruin a good thing. Yeah, like one of those. I'm not taking the risk. What is... Never mind. I will bring you answers soon. I must go. Whatever. You'll come back now. You hear? Whatever it was, it cut contact. I wasn't looking forward to run 2, especially if the usual greeting involved a half-gallon of vodka binge night-level migraine. I wiped away the sweat that had building up before crawling onto the bench and sighing softly. Equestria, never a dull moment. I looked up at the sky, noticing that it was pretty late in the evening. I almost reached for my phone again, only to stop halfway this time to pout. Rather than have an internal rant about that, though, I simply let my mind wander as I got more comfortable. Eventually this led to me passing out like a champ, only to be awoken sometime later by a soft poke of the horn. 5 more minutes, Mom, I groaned as I rolled off the bench, flopping onto the soft grass with a yawn. In all actuality, it was very intentional. I just didn't want to get to my hoofs like a non-lazy person/pony would do. Now, this may come as a shock, but my first thought was to get a cigarette. I know, it's a stretch, but why wrap your mind around it? What? I heard Twilight sparkle say as I looked up. Once again, she was gazing at me like I was a candidate for the loony bin. Recurring theme is recurring. What? I replied, taking a drag of my cigarette in an attempt to recover some cool. It wasn't very effective. You said 5 more minutes, Mom, she said with a hesitant laugh. I'm not, are you okay? No. I jumped up to my feet/hooves and shook my head eagerly. There's so much wrong going on. Oh? Twilight said with a laugh. I hate to bring bad news, but there is more. Twilight! I gave a whiny sob of despair. I can't take any more bad news. Oh, this isn't that bad, I suppose, she replied. Just that Fluttershy came back with that really scary-looking Pegasus you were with. Stormwing, he said his name was. She was so frightened that I had to take her home, and when I did, I returned to find all the Manipulon gone. The what? I knew what she was talking about. I just didn't want her to use that silly name she had created for it. The anti-magic, she replied sardonically. It was gone. Great. I sighed. I can't help but feel that's going to come bite us in the haunches later. I hope not, she commented with a grimace before perking up as she remembered something. Stormwing said you finally got your name. That Jack Pony ruined surprises as well as my life, I see. I huffed before taking another puff of my cigarette. But yes, Luna named me Firewall. I'm aware that Pinky might explode in a jealous rage. Getting the pink of everything will be quite the task. Twilight laughed. Perhaps. I think she was more concerned for you, more than waiting for actually name you. You just speculated on the Pinkie Pie's reactions, so now you get to be the crazy one, I pointed out with a sigh. Oh, right. She looked rather deflated, as if disappointed with herself. So, how did things go with Luna? Twilight was a smart pony, right? I could confide in her, right? I started to let her know about a certain red flag before remembering Spike has a crush on Rarity, and seizing all thought in that direction. Pretty good. Did you hear about what she did? I queried, still feeling a twinge of guilt on the subject. I did, but I'm not sure I understand the implications. What does it mean? She asked, biting her bottom lip with worry. Like a double rainbow. Twilight, I just don't know what it means. I gave a sigh. I mean, quite frankly, we're just going to have to wait and see. Oh, what do you think about the spell I used on your book? Oh, that! I've never seen that spell before. I've never even read anything like it. Twilight was somewhat impressed, staring at me in awe. Where did you learn it? Princess Luna showed me how. We can try it out for you, I suggested, happy to think and talk about brighter subjects. Come on, let's find a magazine or something. A what? She asked as I led the way back into the castle. Ponies don't have magazines? Lame, I announced, sighing as we trotted over to the library. Well, at least you know the replication spell, otherwise we would have to destroy the book in the process. I suppose so, she said with a chuckle. So how does this actually work? And then we proceeded to take turns burning books. Twilight mastered the damn thing on the first try, and did so without so much as a wince. Turns out there wasn't much Twilight didn't already know about everything written down, so we went over to fiction instead. Ponies had loads of awesome stories, in case you had not guessed. It was all so happy and family-friendly and heartwarming. Even the stuff written by Edgar Allan Poe. I'm starting to think Earth and Equestria are harmoniously linked by now. I mean, come on. Edgar Allan Poe was pretty nice, though often bittersweet. We must have sunk hours into this activity before we were finally caught laughing loudly at the musings of a rather comically inclined inventor and philosopher. I think he was a pony version of Benjamin Franklin, and if you don't think Franklin was a funny guy, here's a famous quote of his. Beer is proof that God loves man and wants him to be happy. I hope that's just you two doing something stupid and the Royal Library isn't actually on fire, Stormwing announced as he entered, followed shortly by both the princesses and a couple of royal guards carrying water buckets. Twilight Sparkle, what is going on in here? Celestia was quite aghast, utterly mortified to see all the burnt books on the floor and tables. I'm not sure how many books we went through, but I'm pretty sure we passed 50, most of which were terribly silly. So between the two of us, there were at least 100 piles of ashes all over the place. You were using the extraction spell, huh? Luna gasped happily as she cantered over to us. Wow, you two must have been hard at it. How many did you absorb? Several dozen? Oh, Luna, I suddenly found my opportunity to get Luna acquainted with some new friends. This is Twilight Sparkle. Yes, she freed me from the nightmare. She interrupted me with a nod. And thanks to your phone, I know more about her than she's likely comfortable with. Ark. She stamped her pony hoof in frustration, still not used to stuttering. Adorable, to be sure. I couldn't help but snicker and mimic her a bit, earning an amused glare from the Alicorn in return. You were destroying library books with the extraction spell? Celestia had not lost her cool just yet, but said cool might as well be getting ready to file a change of address with the local post office, because that pony did not look happy. No, Twilight stammered, blushing with shame. I created a spell to recreate the books first. That way we could absorb the book and not destroy the originals. But we did make quite a mess. I'm sorry, Princess. We'll clean it up, I offered helpfully, smiling innocently. Celestia was relieved, having discovered that she didn't lose 100+ books to stupid, playful ponies. Very well, just please see what you can do about this mess. Spotless, if you please. Twilight, now encouraged, stood up straight, and with a wave for her horn created a small tornado that sucked up all the ashes and funneled them out of the nearest window. I'm starting to think she has a spell for everything. Yes, even that. Using a little unicorn levitation, we put the books back in just a few moments, turning back to smile brightly at our audience.
Show-offs,
Captain Jack Pony remarked. Give me a break, Sparky. You're the one with all the flashy lightning, I accused, pointing a hoof at him in an accusing way, I suppose.
Uh-huh. You're the attention horse,
he countered with a smirk. I'm not. I just like it when people look at me, and you can't even look at me, so I don't like you. It was a low blow, to be sure, but he's a big pony, and he can take it. I admit I was a little relieved to see him chuckle. I don't really enjoy offending people, but I do love to take the humor right there to the edge of what's acceptable, because that edge often houses the best content. I suppose this had to be done eventually. Stormwing, Firewall, you're both grounded. Go to your rooms, Celestia commanded with a mirthful roll of her eyes. This, oddly enough, caused Stormwing to look unreasonably ashamed. Definitely something going on there. But Mom, I whined, happy to play along. He started it. I think I've slipped into the Twilight Zone. Luna groaned, resisting the urge to laugh. Trust me, I can tell when I'm making people laugh. I really can't think of an activity that pleases me more. The what? Twilight tilted her head in confusion, causing me to laugh uncontrollably as I realized just how confusing that sounded to the poor purple pony. Nothing, Luna answered with a blush, remembering that I was the only one that would get the reference. Well, if there are no more fires in my castle tonight, I will bid every pony a good night, she announced with a smile.
Rest well, Princess.
Stormwing bowed very formally, bringing a smile from her as she turned to leave. I was about to ask Stormwing what his deal was with Celestia and if he was just that stiff around the brass, but I was interrupted by an extremely loud and unladylike yawn from Twilight, O.P. Sparkle. I reared up to applaud for a few seconds. It was rather impressive, to be honest. Sorry about that. Twilight chuckled a bit nervously, blushing as she rubbed at her eyes. I got up really early today to do lots of research. I'm beat. Go sleep, Philly. I nodded. You've earned a long rest.
Yes,
Captain Stormwing, please escort Miss Sparkle to her old quarters here in Canterlot." Luna politely ordered, smiling at Twilight with what seemed to be admiration. Luna must have discovered the series by now. That's typical reaction for most MLP film watchers. Twilight's just that cool, you know?
"Yes, Princess,"
he responded, though not as eagerly as he took Celestia's orders. "Let us consider this a small red flag on the good captain, shall we?" "Can you tuck me in later too?" I gave off a small yawn. "I need a motherly figure there, and you just seem so nurturing."
"I've got a better idea. No, tuck your own smoky self in, fire doll."
Ugh, degrading pet names. A great weakness of mine. We all shared a laugh, and just as I thought they were headed out, a Storm walked up to me and held his hoof up.
"Thank you for your help today," he said in earnest. "Couldn't have done it without you."
This is what is called a friendly rivalry, where you sass, insult, and downright slur the other party until you have no more to give. Then you remind yourself that the other guy/gal is still really cool, and they make your life better for having been there, also knowing that they feel likewise about you. Not that I would ever tell the bucker that he actually helped brighten my day. "No problem, Brownie." No, that wasn't a slip. I did it on purpose. Then I bro-hoofed him and smiled wildly. "Thank you for your help too. It would have been a lot worse if you had not been there." Thank you as well, Captain." Luna gave an appreciative nod.
"It was a pleasure, Princess,"
he answered with a bow before turning to Twilight.
"Shall we, my lady?"
"Night, every pony." Twilight waved a hoof before heading on out with her escort. Luna sighed in frustration as she watched me pull out another cigarette. "You know, I think I've come up with an plan to get you to at least cut it back." "I'm all ears," I said as I turned for the hallway. "Outside, come on." The cool damp air of the night was refreshing, to say the least. We went right back to my sleeping bench, where I immediately planted my plot with a yawn, doing a double take when I noticed I didn't have my cigarette anymore. Luna did, in her mouth. "For every cigarette you smoke, I'll smoke one too," she announced, thinking she had me. She didn't. Aha, negative. I declined that offer without so much as a thought. With a bit of focus, her entire cigarette caught flame and was ash in just a matter of seconds. "Ugh!" She spit out the now useless filter and glared at me. "Why did you ever pick up such a filthy habit?" "Peer pressure. I didn't become truly addicted until my parents split up, but, yeah," I said with a shrug, pulling out another cigarette and lighting it. "Let's stop talking about me, okay?" No." She tried to emulate the human way of sitting on the bench, as I was doing. "How is this even comfortable? This already hurts." "It's nostalgic." I shrugged again, rolling my eyes with a chuckle. "And it doesn't hurt me at all. It's kind of funny, actually." "It's annoying, is what it is," she grumped, before hopping off the bench and picking out a nearby one that she laid down upon. "Better. Now let's talk about your s'more." "I'd much rather talk about you and what you're going through," I deflected quickly. "I'm sorry, I just feel like an ass when I talk about me. Not a lot of super awesome things to talk about. Suffice it to say, me talking about my past doesn't make anyone happy, least of all me. I'd rather live in the present and look to the future. Being happy is a choice I make, and talking about a rough past just makes it a little harder." Luna looked away, not entirely open to the idea. "I don't want to think about it." "Luna, I may have some problems, but what you're going through isn't even close to normal for either of our worlds," I pointed out, taking a drag with a frown. "You can talk to me. I'm not even slightly judgmental. Except for Blue Blood. I bucked him in the face for being a jerk." You hit my nephew?" She didn't seem very entertained by that notion. She wasn't, in fact. She was so unentertained, I know that's not a word, by that notion that she grabbed a few pears off the nearest tree with some magic and started to pelt me with them, emphasizing each throw with a word. "What is wrong with you?" "He's deserved it, and ow, ow, stop it, ow, you know it," I declared, too lazy to dodge the pears. I was actually pretty tired. I also hate pears. Dr. Hooves has the right of it. He did not," she snapped, matching my accusing stare with one of her own, before huffling out in defeat. Fine. He can be insufferable at times." "Yeah, that's good practice for understating, I suppose." I shook my head. "Dude's about as lovable as a rampaging Ursa Major covered in garbage and parasprites." I think I can relate, considering present company," she shouted at me before getting up. "Have a good night." "Luna?" Yeah, sometimes I take things too far, and Luna obviously cared for her family, warts and all. "I'm sorry, okay?" "You're sorry that it upset me, not that you said awful things about some pony," she snapped, not even looking back at me as she left. I didn't go after her. She was obviously going through some rough stuff, and giving her a focus for frustration might actually help. Nah, I'm kidding. I was just lazy and tired. Sue me. I'd have had a long and arduous day. Crap, I said with a yawn before laying down on the bench and shutting my eyes. It didn't take long for me to fall asleep, fortunately. I had nightmares of being turned into cupcakes when Pinkie Pie found out that I broke my name promise to her. Traumatizing, to say the least. I won't go into details, but I will say that I'll never look at Pinkie the same again. The plus side, however, was that I didn't get woken up by some tragic event this time. Just that old sweepy pony whistling, which I admit I love to whistle, so waking up to that didn't bother me in the least. I can approximate about 6 hours to 8 hours of sleep, judging by my grogginess and general irritation at everything that wasn't the sweepy pony. That was 2 or 4 hours longer than I was willing to go without a smoke. I lit up, finished that sucker, and went inside for some breakfast. I didn't expect to be served, nor would I like that so much as cooking my own food, so I went into the pantry, ignored the employed ponies that wondered who the hell was raiding their place of work, and magicked it all into the kitchen, where I further ignored any pony just staring at me, wondering who the hell I was. I will say this, not having freaking meat to work with makes breakfast difficult to work with. Still, I made the best of it, and before long I had an unreasonable large stack of pancakes, as well as a big bowl of white gravy and biscuits. My grandma did not raise an incompetent, that's for sure. I just needed syrup, so rather than hunt for it, I scared one of those cook ponies that did their best to avoid getting in my way. He was yellow like Fluttershy, with a white mane and a 4-flower stack for a cutie mark. I'm not going to lie, I thought the flower sack cutie mark just screamed cool. It's a flower sack. Hey, Brownie, what's up? I gave him a poke with my hoof. Yeah! He jumped a bit and cantered back a step. Yes? Wah, easy there, killer. I just wanted to know where to find a bottle of syrup or maybe some honey and molasses, if we don't have any. I asked, smiling encouragingly at him. Oh, of course, he said with a nod, opening a cabinet and handing, hoofing, me a bottle. Most soldiers just let us cook for them. It's sort of our job, you see. What? Nah, I'm not a soldier. Princess Luna has asked me to stick around for a few days, I explained as I grabbed the bottle with my magic and spread an excessive amount over the pancakes. You don't have to serve me, mate. I'm more of a do-it-yourself kind of pony. Not that I want to take your job, I just like being able to fend for myself. That's quite an independent lookout, he said with a nervous chuckle. Not to offend, but I'm glad all ponies aren't like you. No kidding. A lot of ponies wouldn't have jobs if every pony was like me. I said with a laugh, as Silverheart entered with a cough. "Firewall, Captain Stormwing has requested your presence," she said, all stiff and official. "That's great. You can ask him to meet me in the dining hall as I have breakfast," I countered, knowing it would irritate both her and him. "He said it was important and that I was to make it very clear that now was not the time for humor," she clarified, not even blinking at my rebuttal. "Screw Captain Stormwing." I gave a sigh before looking back at the chef pony. "Hey, what's your name, Cookie?" "Cookie," he replied, wondering how I knew his name. "No way, I'm awesome." I brohoved his shoulder and smiled. "Thanks for the syrup. Can I take these dishes and bring them back first chance I get?" "I suppose." He gave a non-committal nod of his head. "Sweet, thanks, Cookie," I said with a laugh before magicking all the food to follow me. "Okay, Silver Sweetheart, lead the way." That was the wrong thing to say. So very wrong. I saw rage in those eyes. Rage. Preposterous amounts of fury. Some pony doesn't like to be called sweetheart. No kidding. I'm fairly certain I was this close to dying. I nearly dropped all my food as I stammered to correct myself. "I mean, my lady, please guide me to our destination, with all due respect." "Sorry?" She seemed satisfied with having browbeat me into submission. "Shut up, it was scary," and turned to lead me out into the southern hall, back towards the ballroom. We entered the big empty room, famous to be the hosting of a ruined gala, and spotted Stormwing standing in the center, waiting patiently. He didn't have his armor on for once, and let me tell you, some pony has a bad case of wild static charged mane. He looked like a freaking blue Super Saiyan or something. I just wanted to laugh at him. I didn't, though, especially once I noticed the worried look on his face. I started to ask what was wrong, but everything was interrupted by a scream from Luna's room. I didn't even think. I just bolted around and up the stairs, still trailing a train of food behind me. I guess losing your concentration doesn't end the spell? A storm beat me there, naturally, and stopped just before her door, calling out to her.
"Princess Luna, is everything all right?"
He called out imploringly. "Of course it isn't," I said, shoving him out of the way and bucking the door open. "Luna!" There she was, laying in her dark blue bed, crying into her pillow. There was nothing wrong otherwise. She was just crying. Even while confused, it was painful to see a pony cry, this one especially. Stormwing slipped up beside me and shook his head, whispering softly.
"She went to bed about 4 hours ago, about 1 hour before I usually awake. Every time she goes to sleep, however, a nightmare awakens her," he murmured, low enough to keep her from hearing. "I don't know what's causing it." I suddenly felt extremely numb all over, having a damn good guess as to what was causing the nightmares. As I understand it, dreams and nightmares are the mind's way of occupying your sensory perception while you're asleep, and also act as a sort of taking out the mental garbage. It's why people that sleep to music usually have a slightly less restful sleep, because they're occupying a piece of their mind by listening to it. This was all second-hand information from a supposed sleep expert that worked at the Serta mattress store, but he sure as hell was confident and charismatic. The point was that Luna didn't have a trash bin full of mental garbage, but an entire junkyard of it. "Hey, Luna," I said, walking over to the bed and bringing the food. "I brought you pancakes. Nom 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 nom." Luna sobbed a few more times before looking at me, sniffling with a smile. "You're nothing like a human. You couldn't possibly be one. You can't be a jerk at times, but you're not like the rest of them." "Yes, I am," I said, sighing softly as I set all the food down and snacked a biscuit, dipping it in all the gravy. "I'm just a human as the rest of them." "No, you're not." She buried her face back into the pillow and sobbed out a few more sentences. She sounded like the Pyro from TF2. Unsuccessfully tried to stop myself from letting out a chuckle. "Well, I can't discern what you said entirely.
I said before taking a bite of the biscuit. But I'll take a guess. You're either insulting my mother, or you're coming on to me. It could go either way, really. I heard her snort out a laugh, as well as Stormwing's exasperated groan. She eventually looked up from the pillow again and wiped at her eyes tiredly. Humans are so awful, though. No, we're not awful. I rolled my eyes and hoofed. Seriously, I wonder what the appropriate term is. Her a gravy-dipped biscuit. Some humans are awful, a lot of humans are just fine, and there are even more that are bigger sweethearts than some of the ponies I've met. She nibbled at the biscuit with a sniff. I know, it's just, I can't sleep without seeing so many awful things. I know, I said with a nod, swallowing my biscuit and sighing. Figured that out pretty quickly, actually, and yeah, humans record the events of their history in an effort to learn and better themselves from it. You know how to clamp it all down, right? It kinda just came to me, but I figured that out pretty quick, she nodded with a sniffling yawn. I just can't do it while I'm asleep. And why are humans obsessed with nudity? Awkward subject, Luna, I said with a laugh, blushing terribly bright, I'm sure. We'll talk about it when you're older. She whacked me with a magically propelled pillow. I multiply your age by over 400. Yeah, well, hey, you're not stuttering, I gasped, quick to latch onto a distraction, though the realization had come as a shock as well. She braced herself up a bit, quite off guard. You're right. Awesome, I exclaimed, hoof-clapping, mostly because the idea of hoof-clapping amuses the hell out of me. A bit before grabbing another biscuit. I guess what little sleep you're getting helped? Stop trying to change the subject. She suddenly caught on to my subtle conversation manipulation. You've got a lot of explain about humans. What do you want to know? I mean, you obviously have more knowledge at your disposal than I do. I shrugged, at a loss for what to say to satisfy her. What are they? She asked, yawning loudly. In your words, as if you were explaining to another human. Brace yourself for the philosophical musings of Firewall. All right, then. I took a moment to collect my thoughts, tilting my head a bit before taking a deep breath. Humans are quite odd, now that I think about it. They're imaginative, desire-driven, preserving, stubborn, passionate creatures. Nothing more. Not that different from ponies, really, except that humans don't get cutie marks to tell us what we want deep down. Sometimes we never find out what we want. When we do, though, we chase it without so much as a second thought, and we're not afraid to fight for what we want, even if it means fighting one another. Sometimes humans just think about themselves and their personal desires. Sometimes people want to help the race as a whole thrive and flourish. Sometimes people, like me, want them and everyone around them to have fun. Most people, however, just want to live their lives and keep their heads down in a simple, happy existence. But no matter what a person's cause, there's a good and bad ways to go about it. Sure, there are plenty of humans that aren't afraid of stepping on anyone and anything, but there are plenty that refuse to show such carelessness. Remember what I said? Take the good with the bad. Don't dwell on the worst. Luna nodded at me, laying back down tiredly. I could hear Stormwing's quiet breathing, having stepped closer. I think he was more interested in hearing this than Luna was, actually. That's what it's all about. You're not naive anymore, I said, popping what was left of the biscuit in my mouth. So you're going to have to learn that no matter what you see, no matter what you hear, no matter how awful it seems, the choice to be sad and afraid is just that, a choice. I know it's easier said than done, and you can't actively fight it while asleep, but maybe you can adjust with time. Much to your misfortune, though, you've just got me to help you along the way. Luna snorted before holding out her hoof to me. After a moment of hesitation, I took it. I felt her squeeze my hoof gently. How? And after a few silent moments, she fell back asleep. I felt a tightening in my chest as I realized I really just didn't want anything bad to happen to Luna ever again. Not just Luna, but any pony. I wanted to guard them. I wanted to be that protector, that firewall, just as Luna had said. It was like discovering my own cutie mark, and it was indeed a shield. The sheer ridiculousness of the idea made me doubt everything that I was doing and saying. It was just such a magical and ludicrous thought process that I was following that I didn't know if I should let myself go down that path. Was this fanciful thinking just too far out there? I kept asking myself. Was I not keeping myself grounded? Then Luna's nightmares started to return. She stirred with a whimper, and I felt anger surge from deep inside, hating the helplessness. I wanted to fight away those inner demons so badly, and yet I couldn't. It didn't take me long to refuse that notion, though. I denied that I couldn't do anything. This was wrong, and I would prove it wrong by making it right. I stared hard at Luna, knowing that she would not have to face this alone. With small flash, I got my wish in form of a small fiery shield placing itself under her horn, glowing softly and warmly. With but a second, her whimper subsided, and I was instantly on cloud 9. Best spell ever. I kinda got a little choked up. I was so thrilled. That was when Stormwing put his hoof on my shoulder and nodded, getting up to leave the princess to her rest. As we exited, Stormwing shut the door and sighed in relief.
"Thank you, Firewall. I don't know what you did, but I'm glad you did it."
"Did what?" A regal voice popped up from behind us. "Is Luna any better?" Celestia is not small, nor is she particularly colored to camouflage against anything, considering she glows like the sun half the time. Hence you can understand my shock when she got so close without making any noise. What was even more shocking was that Celestia's normally calm and gentle visage was one of slight stress and worry. Damn it! I placed the hoof over my chest. "Are all princess ponies so stealthy?"
"Yes, my princess. Firewall helped Luna get to sleep with a spell I've never seen before."
Stormwing answered her, ignoring my dramatic reaction.
"She's now not having any nightmares, or isn't acknowledging them at least."
Celestia smiled as though Christmas had come early. She was about to reply when she was cut off by a loud, brash, and arrogant laugh. A very distinctive, loud, brash, and arrogant laugh. Indeed, it was my favorite loud, brash, and arrogant laugh. "Tremble, Canterlot, tremble from head to hoof, for this land is now under the rule of a new order. I, the great and powerful Trixie, claim this city in the name of Azure Flora." Her beautifully obnoxious voice boomed throughout the city. "I've never been so happy to hear an invasion announcement," I stated with all seriousness, my eyes wide with excitement. "I, for once, welcome our new pony overlord."
"What?"
Stormwing was so very confused by my words. The roof was suddenly torn off the ballroom, and that awesome blue pony dropped in, laughing haughtily. "Cower before the great and powerful Trixie!" This was quickly followed by me running down the stairs and hitting her with a glomp. For those of you that are not fanboy girl inclined, a glomp is an enthusiastic flying tackle hug. And that's just what I did. I glomped Trixie. Don't judge me. You're just jealous that you didn't get the opportunity.